This person tried. They did what everyone said was the right thing. They got out of bed, changed their hairstyle, blocked numbers, deleted photos, muted memories. They tried to take a deep breath and say, "It's over." But the body didn't believe it, because some gestures never leave the skin. There are names that keep pulsing even after everything has turned silent. This person forced themselves to go out, to smile, to pretend everything was fine. And they almost succeeded. Almost. But then came that smell. That song. That place. That random conversation that, without meaning to, hit exactly the wound that still bleeds, and everything came rushing back, again as if nothing had changed, as if time hadn't passed, as if the other person was still there, hidden behind every memory. This person even wanted to move on, but the whole path was built with bricks of memories. And how do you walk toward the future when the past still grips your feet? How do you build something new and when everything around you still screams the name of the one who left? This person is tired, not from the pain, but from the pressure of having to seem okay, of having to show strength, of having to handle everything while inside everything is crumbling. Everyone wants to see this person starting over, but no one sits beside them to hear what still hurts. Because it hurts more than one admits. It hurts even when they swear it doesn't. This person doesn't just miss the other, they miss who they were, when they were still loved. And this nobody sees. This person has already tried to move on, but the whole world seems programmed to remind them exactly what they wanted to forget. This person tried, they really did. But there are attempts that the world applauds and the heart gives up, because the body moves but the soul remains still, in that same night, in that same phrase, in that same feeling of abandonment. No matter how much time passes, time doesn't resolve what the body still feels as presence, and this person keeps going, between noise and distractions, trying to make the routine enough to fill the gaps left by absence, trying to convince oneself that the future will heal, that at some point the name will stop hurting, that eventually the heart will tire of waiting for what won't return. But it doesn't tire, and that's the part no one talks about. This person wakes up every day with the weight of what still exists inside, even after everything has ended on the outside. They continue living among gazes that don't know, among gestures that go unnoticed. They keep coexisting with the world as if it were possible to live without screaming, because they don't scream, but they bleed. And what hurts the most isn't the absence of the other. It's the excess of memories that don't know where to go. They are trapped in the body, in the clothes, in the corners of the house, in the precise moments when everything happened. This person knows what it's like to walk down the street and feel their stomach turn. They know what it's like to hear a similar laugh and freeze inside. They know what it is, and to perceive that it hasn't passed yet, to perceive that no one perceives, to perceive that only those who feel understand what it's like to be present in a world that continually pulls you back. This person is tired, not because they are weak, but because they have held on tightly for too long, and they keep holding on, because they learn to support themselves even when there's nothing left to lean on. They learn to respond, "I'm fine," even when their body is crumbling inside. No one sees, no one hears, no one asks, because the world has no time for those who still feel too much, because the world demands quick overcoming, as if pain were a luxury. But this person is not in a hurry. They have scars, and it's those scars that tell the real story of what happened. This person has heard all the advice, they've read all the cliches, they've heard that time heals, that it will pass, that you have to love yourself more. But self-love doesn't act as anesthesia when the wound is still open. This person is not needy. They are profound. And those who feel deeply take their time. It takes time to forget. It takes time to let go. It takes time to trust again. And that's okay. But no one talks about this. No one teaches you to respect your own timeline. Everyone wants the pain to end, but no one can handle seeing the process of it. This person keeps getting up every day. And maybe no one sees how much this costs. But it costs. It's hard to keep your eyes steady when your heart wants to go back. It's hard not to send a message when the night feels heavy. It's hard to swallow your tears in the middle of a meeting, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of life. This person no longer cries in front of others. They've learned to hide it, to mask the grief that wasn't given space to exist, because no one understands the grief of someone who lost someone still living. And that's what no one says. This person lost someone who continues to exist, someone who keeps laughing, living, posting, moving on, without them. And that tears you apart, because it hurts more to realize that the other person has moved on than to accept that it's over. This person wanted to keep going together. They wished the other person had chosen to stay, but they didn't stay. And now all that's left is to try to move on, alone, even when everything around still screams the name of the one who left. And that's why this person walks slowly, not out of laziness, but out of fear of stumbling over their feelings. This person still hasn't gotten used to the absence. They haven't rearranged the world without that presence. They still haven't learned to sleep without thinking about what the other person is doing. They still don't know how to fill the empty space left behind. And sometimes it seems like they don't even want to, because forgetting, in this case, also hurts. Forgetting would mean killing something that was so alive, something that still is, even if just from one side. This person knows they need to move on, but they don't know how. And maybe, just maybe, all this person wanted was someone to say, "I see you, I understand." Because this is the most silenced truth of all. Those who feel too much often suffer in silence. But silence speaks too, and one day the body starts to scream. This person tried to move on, tried to erase, tried to ignore, but everything that is genuinely felt comes back, even if disguised, even if denied, even if buried. It comes back, and this person is tired of pretending they don't feel. They're tired of hearing that they need to stop living in the past, when the past is the only place where their heart still beats with meaning. They're tired of making new plans, when all they wanted was to fix the old ones. This person has tried everything. They've read 1,000 texts, watched 1,000 videos. They've followed all the self-help tips, but they still go back to that last message that never got a response. They still reread old conversations, still smell the scent, still remember the laughter. And you can't teach someone to erase that. You can only learn to carry it. This person doesn't want pity. They want space. They want time. They want silence. They want the dignity to feel what they feel. They want the world to stop demanding strength when all they have is resilience. This person is here, surviving. Even if no one sees, even if no one says anything, this person exists and feels and endures because they still love, even in silence, even alone. And if someone reads this and realizes that's already a new beginning, this person has tried to move forward, but the whole world still remembers the name of the one they can't forget. This person no longer knows how to explain, because it's not about the other anymore. It's about everything that was generated within, about everything that had nowhere to go once it was over. This person is full, overflowing with things they don't know where to put, words they wished they had said, plans that never happened, feelings that remain alive even without direction. And that's where the hardest part begins, to carry on, even without knowing what to do with all of it. This person wakes up with a full soul and spends the day trying to empty themselves of a love that has nowhere to reside. They go to work, talk to people, smile, make jokes, but everything is mechanical. It's all survival, because the heart is still on pause, waiting for a response that never comes. And it's not a lack of strength, it's an excess of memories. This person has been living in a state of waiting, even when they say they aren't, even when they swear they've moved on, because there are people we move on from outwardly, but inside, the body continues to wait to hear that notification sound. It keeps imagining reunions that will never happen. It keeps reliving moments as if they could still be rewritten. This person already knows they won't come back, but they still don't know how to move on. Because love doesn't have an off switch, and no one warns that, after the end, the feelings still linger, trapped, lost, begging to be seen even when it's left unspoken. This person doesn't want to dramatize. They don't want to draw attention. They don't want to seem fragile. They just wish they could exist without having to hide what they feel. They wish they could say it still hurts without that being interpreted as weakness. They want to be noticed, even when they're pretending to be okay. But the world doesn't know how to handle those who feel deeply, and this person feels, and feels everything. Feels the mornings heavier, feels the empty Sunday, feels the absence of a routine that used to be home, feels even what never came to be, feels what could have been. And that's what weighs the most. Not the end of what existed, but the morning of what was dreamed. This person lost what they never even got to live, and they are learning alone to bury a future that seemed certain. Now everything has turned to doubt, everything has turned to silence, everything has turned to attempt. This person looks at old photos and doesn't recognize themselves, because the spark they had in their eyes left along with the other person, because their eyes now carry unanswered questions. And their chest, a hole that no one sees, and maybe no one will see because this person has learned to hide very well. But every night when the house falls asleep, their heart cries out, whispers names, looks for signs, cries quietly, and then falls silent, as if getting used to the emptiness is part of the healing. But it's not. This person doesn't want to just get used to it, wants to understand, wants to rebuild, wants to be reborn. But to be reborn, you first have to die. And in this case, dying means accepting that the love that remains has nowhere left to go. This person is learning to hold back, to close their eyes when memories arise, to take a deep breath when the triggers appear, to say it's okay even when everything still hurts. And that's okay. Yes, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry in the shower. It's okay to have relapses. It's okay to feel anger, longing, confusion. It's okay to still love, even if it's in silence, even if it's one-sided. This person doesn't want to go back. They want to find themselves again, and they know. This takes time. It takes confrontations. It takes internal decisions that no one applauds. It takes silence. It takes the courage to be alone, even when everything inside craves company. This person is learning to stay with themselves, not because they want to, but because now they need to. They are learning to listen to themselves, to respect what they feel, to not harm themselves trying to seem strong all the time, because being strong sometimes is accepting that it still hurts, that it hasn't passed yet, that it still throbs. This person knows it will pass, but not right now. Right now, it still burns. It's still lacking, it still weighs heavy, and that's okay, because no one heals what they don't respect. No one overcomes what they hide. No one starts over if they aren't able to sit down and face what they feel. And this person, even while hurt, still has this power, the power to feel. And this is already the beginning of everything. And no matter how much the world keeps spinning, no matter how the days go by and everything around changes, no matter how many new voices try to fill what was left behind, no presence has managed to silence what remained. Because it's not absence that hurts, it's the continuity. This person continues living in the same world where it all began. The same songs still play. The same dates still arrive. The same streets are still there, only now they're empty. And the cruelest part is that no one stopped. Only they did. This person is trapped in a time that no one else inhabits, and every day they try to escape. But every attempt hits a wall of meaninglessness, a lack of reciprocity, a lack of courage from others who left without even looking back. Yet this person still looks back, not out of weakness, but out of love. Because those who truly love take their time. It's not stubbornness, it's fidelity to their own intensity. This person is learning to exist again, but now without external direction, without someone telling them who they are, without someone validating what they feel. Now everything is a mirror, and the reflection that appears often scares them because there's no longer that light in their eyes. There are dark circles, there's weight, there are questions, but there's also depth. This person has been torn apart, but they are still here, whole in their pain, whole in their devotion, whole in their ability to keep going even without solid ground. And maybe this is more strength than any forced overcoming, because this person doesn't just want to forget, they want to honor what they felt, honor what they lived, honor the love that still beats even when everything is gone. This person is not in a hurry. They don't want to fill the void with anything. They don't want to deceive themselves with distractions. They don't want to erase the name that their body still whispers silently. They want to feel everything, until it no longer hurts, until love ceases to be a burden and becomes a lesson, until they can look back and not shrink away. This person does not want to erase the other. They want to remember so without hurting. They want to find themselves again, but without rushing to reinvent themselves just to please others. They want a complete mourning, a respected silence, an entire journey. And deep down, this person knows. It is in this raw surrender, in this honest vulnerability that healing begins to emerge, without formulas, without shortcuts, without empty promises, just them, time, and feeling. This person no longer waits for messages, but they still hear the echoes of those that never came. And each notification that arrives brings a trace of old hope. A part of her still hopes that the other person notices. She still imagines, does the other person feel the same way somewhere out there? And maybe they don't feel anything. But that's okay, because now this person understands the pain she experiences is the seed of a new presence, her own, and that no one can take away. If this resonated with you, hit like, comment on the topic, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to read this now. Because feeling isn't a weakness, it's where healing begins.